This episode is brought to you by Modal Electronics, who enable you to play and perform powerful sound with their incredible synthesizers. You can enjoy vibrant wavetable patches with the Argon 8 series, or you can produce with state-of-the-art analog-style synth textures with the Cobalt 8 series. To check out Modal Electronics' incredible array of synthesizers, go to modalelectronics.com. Modal Electronics. Dare to sound different.
Because I think I always loved music, but there was a point in time where as a kid, I had a barbecue with my parents, a school barbecue, and then I lost them and I couldn't find them and I was crying. But like, one of those disco songs was playing like, "You can ring my bell," and I was crying over this track. And I had a certain feeling, like I was like, ah! And people found me. I was like, "I know your mom is doing," and I kept crying. And it's funny, but years later, when I was 17, wrote my first rhymes and put on the earphones and said, "Yo," on that track. I was like, that same came back. So it was a feeling. I've always loved music, but that feeling of recording, little beknownst to me that I felt that when I was like 5 years old, last at the barbecue, hearing my voice on the track, but didn't really know what that was. Yeah, but it's the same feeling I got when you heard back yourself. Like, oh wow, that's the feeling. That's the same thing. So I guess it was emotional for me at the point where I was crying, but I felt something special, and it came back as a teenager. But my mom's always playing music in the house, one record player, component set thing. She would play Beatles, she would play Paul Simon, she would play Neil Diamond, she would play Cat Stevens, she loved. My father was, a party dude. We had a lot of disco records in the house. My aunt also has a sound system. That's my mom's sister. So me and my brother and my cousin would set up the boxes and also set up the bar at age 10 or 12 years old, because she would have parties at our house. Parties that would start probably, the gate would open at 9. We would go to 4 in the morning, but I would probably be up till about 12, 1, feeling the beat in my chest with these big boxes. I loved it. And so, I always gravitated to music. So I can't remember the exact point, but all those little things bring those memories when you ask that question.
Wow, yeah. Can see how all of that could have inspired you. And when did you think about making your own music? Do you remember when you first started making your own music?
About 15 years old, I thought, I could be a producer. I like it a lot. I like to see, I saw 2 big producers on the TV in Jamaica, Steely and Clevie, and they kind of developed dancehall music to how it was. And they were saying, yeah, we use computers now. It's not always a band every time. We could program the drums. We have many different sounds. And that enthused me so much. I was like, Mom, if I get this, keyboard, I could probably be a producer. So I saw a keyboard in the flea market. It was cracked. It was a Casio keyboard. It had 4 sections for a drum machine. So 4 of the keys were drums that you could switch to the drum section. And the rest of it was just, normal keys. Probably this big. And she bought it for me for a Christmas or a birthday or something to encourage me to learn music. And all I do on it was build over Steely and Cleve's rhythms and everybody's rhythms the same. And then play the bass live and take a TDK cassette and record on that, on the little tiny TDK thing. It had a 1 speaker, and I would play that and then hear it there and then sing over that when I press play on that. So primitive recordings. But then about age 17, I kind of started writing rhymes and thought, wow, this is even better. I like this a lot. I'd also seen a friend of my own from school. He was a table tennis champion and I was a swimming champion. And he started to go to the studios, and he started to, sing songs. His name was Don Youth, or Jason Williams as I knew him. But Don Youth was the first kid from uptown area in Jamaica that wasn't supposed to do dancehall music. And it was a friend of mine. And when I saw him doing it, I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I started following him to the studios and just doing my own demo tapes with a friend that was nearby that had a sound system. So about ages 15 to 17 was the nucleus of me.
And did you or did anyone else around you at that stage kind of say, my God, like you've got a kind of unique vocal tone and voice? Like when it's Sean Paul now, people are like, oh, it's Sean Paul. Like even just then when you opened your mouth, I was like, and sang like for 2 seconds, I was like, bloody hell, it's Sean Paul. Were people like at that stage already saying, you had something special and unique?
Not much. My brother was.
Your brother.
But not much. Like we shared the same room even till I was touring and doing Give Me the Light. We would come home off tour and his girlfriend would be in his bed and my girlfriend would be in my bed, and we'd be like, this can't work no more, man. So that was age 25. But so yeah, he was just the one that would hear the demos I was doing and being like, yo, this is dope. He took it to my father was in prison from I was 13 till about 19. When he came out, he heard it and he heard the demo tapes and he was like, yo, and he knew Cat Core from Third World Band. They grew up together. And he's like, I'm gonna take this to Cat Core. But the one person, I was about 17 years old, it was another one of my father's friend. I was at the stadium pool where I trained every day. And it's a 50-meter pool, and he was way down there. And I was shouting to a kid down there. I was like, yo, so-and-so and so. And he came up to me and was like, yo, bro, you have a powerful voice. I heard it way down there. And I was like, oh, see, he's the first person that made me feel like that. So, yeah, but in the early stages, a lot of people, especially because I'm from uptown, and I'm singing these lyrics in patois, raw, our language in Jamaica. It was always deemed as not a good thing, and your mom's not gonna like that. So no one really said, hey, that's dope, yo, come over, come listen to Sean. Nobody ever did. It took me quite a few years to build up the confidence of my brother, and then my father giving the mixtape or the demo tape to Cat Core, and this other dude at the stadium kind of building my confidence slowly. I didn't tell most of my friends. I had experiences that when I did show my friends, like I'm driving in the car with them and I had the demo tape, I was like, no, listen to this. Put in the demo tape and they're like, who's that, you? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, it's not really much of a reaction. It's just kind of like, oh, interesting. But
did that dent your confidence?
It was a question of my own, and so
did that affect your confidence?
It made me very unsure of like my steps towards doing this. Because as a swimmer, I swam every day, and everybody in swimming was swimming, but also thinking about going to college. And I wasn't. I really didn't have the funds to go to a college abroad. My mom didn't have the money, especially being my father was in prison. So I just didn't ever think about college like that. To go to a school in Miami or Canada was just out of the question for me. And so slowly but surely, most of those people who were my friends, but just didn't see me in that light, they kind of left to go to college. And I started to have to get more different friends from all over. And in school, we used to beat on a desk and play the rhythms, and everybody just say a couple of lyrics. And there were people that would say, hey, you sound like Supercat, that's funny. But they never really encouraged me in that respect. There were other kids that were the bigger DJs, so to speak. But yeah, so it did kind of make me feel like I was always apprehensive what's gonna happen, if people are gonna actually like it or not, until I was about 17 or 18. Yeah.
And how did things progress from there to making your first record? And I mean, your first record obviously wasn't when your career really exploded. But would you characterize that as like your big break?
I think, yeah. Well, I wanted to learn producing as well. I thought I'm good at that. I know I am. And so I met a brethren of mine who became the first leader of my first band. I've only had 2 bands, but this guy, he would have like a mic night, like every Friday night at a little Italian restaurant. So the people would come and listen to him play like Purple Rain, and then he would go, and then this guy, and then I would go and sing my patois thing them and say, yo, big up, bro. And everybody would like turn around and be like, oh, that's interesting. So that was a bit hard to go through for a few months. But then a friend of mine was there one of the nights, and he was like, yo, my brother has a studio, you should come there. I said, I didn't know his older brother had been to school in Canada, studied at McGill, came back. This guy actually turned to my first producer, first manager, Jeremy Hardy. I went to the studio to do a dub plate just for fun, for this guy who was having a party, and he wanted to play the music with his name in it. And people think that it was Super Cat because it was I sounded like Super Cat a lot. So that was the first step. And then after that first dub plate, a lot of people was like, yo, who is that? And the different sound systems, Renaissance sound system, Stone Love, my brother's sound system. By this time, my brother was in a sound system with people in his school. He's 5 years younger than me. So they were still in school and they were playing for barbecues and sweet 16s and weddings. And then they got some dubs and they kept playing me, and it started to become a thing. So I would say I was way older. I was about 24 by that time, where I started to get traction in the business.
And so was that when you released Stage 1, you were like 24, 25?
I was actually about 26. So, I'd spent a few years being the apprentice, trying to learn production, and the same guy was a guitarist with the Purple Rain stuff. He produced a demo for me, and then Super Cat's old manager, who was now managing Shaggy, came to the studio to hear it. He came there to watch a dance routine that the girls were doing because they danced for Shaggy, the sister of this guy. And then the same guitarist guy, he played the music for the guy, and he was like the producer, and he said, whoa, and he built a test press of my songs, of that song. And the first song was called Ghetto Story. And it was, about the disparity between the uptown and downtown, and why do we say, out of many one people when we're clearly not one people. There's different classes, and it upset me. And so I spoke about it in the song, and he liked it. He's like, yo, you sound like Super Cat. I used to manage Super Cat. Let me press 5 test copies for you. And he did. And then, so from there and the dub plates, I started to become more of, what I am today, other than just the swimmer guy.
And in terms of, going from there where you're on your way and finding success, making a great record, but by no means like a global superstar. It was like, Dutty Rock, that album, Give Me the Light, Get Busy. You're singing with Beyoncé on a #1 like US single on Baby Boy. I mean, you were literally everywhere globally, like a huge superstar, like a couple of years from then. So, I mean, the obvious question is kind of,
it took about 6 years.
6 years.
It took about 6 years, but yeah, I got the traction in Jamaica, and then I blew up here. I would say that felt instantaneous. That felt like after the first dub plate with that guy in the studio, and he became my first manager. He's like, let's put out a first single for you. And I put out a song called Baby Girl. And that blew up. Like I would go out to the dances, and when they played the song, people were like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, like it was instantaneous, but they didn't know me. They didn't know who that person was. Like I'd be standing up right there, and everybody around me was like, blah, blah, but they didn't know that song was me. And then I started getting calls. People would send around the number. This is the guy. He'll do the dub plate. And then I was like this all the time. Yeah, I'll come to the barbecue. Yeah, I'll come and do a recording. I'll do some dub plates. You know, stuff like that. So that went on for about 3-4 years, and then I got really big in Jamaica. And VP Records, a small distribution kind of record label in New York City, which was first based in Jamaica at first. They used to be a record shop, and then they moved to New York, and they became, you know, basically a distributor for reggae and especially dancehall. And they had me on a CD called Reggae Gold, which they sold every year. So they would put the hottest songs in the dancehall on there. And I made it one year, and I was probably 26 at the time. And the owner for the company, it took us to Tower Records in Manhattan, which is where we were signing autographs for people. And by this time, I was actually a big name known in Jamaica. And he says he saw the amount of ladies that kept coming up to me for the autographs and the excitement that was around me on the record. And he said to me, think about doing a record. And I was like, you mean an album? He said, yeah. I was like, okay. And so that took me about 2 years to kind of put together. And that was stage one, the first one. It did phenomenal for them, which led to me doing the second album and Atlantic Records getting involved at that point. And the second album is called Dutty Rock, which blew me up everywhere. But yeah, it took the 6 years. And relatively, it didn't seem like 6 years to me. It was just fast, you know. So I was near 30 when I broke internationally.
Wow. And did you ever get demoralized along the way? Because music, when you're kind of on the way up, seems like it can be a difficult business, and especially what you were saying about your friends earlier on. Did you get people saying, "Oh, come on, Sean, like I'm not sure this is it for you"? You know, have you thought about a career in the restaurant industry?
I actually had a couple. Yeah, I had a couple ladies, friends, just tell me like, you know, what are you doing? You're throwing your life away. I had a friend that used to swim with me. She saw me out. You know, I'm smoking weed by this time, and I'm, you know, drinking, and she was drunk, but she came up to me and she started to cry. She put her head on my shoulder. She said, "What are you doing? You're throwing your life away. You should be going back to school. All of us are in college now." And you know, she cried, and I was like, I was so sure of myself by that time. I've been through this 1,000 times with a lot of people I knew. And I said to her, it's almost like I've done it already. She said, what? I said, like I've lived it already and I'm just remembering it now. And she started to cry more and said, you're going crazy too. But I just felt like it was for me so much, you know what I mean? I had faith. And so I'm glad I stuck with it. And there was another point in time where I was a little bigger now. And before the Dutty Rock album, I went to a prominent producer that I really loved. I respect his production. I liked his work. I loved the songs he wrote for artists. And I got a demo tape to him, and he gave me the demo day. He's like, go in the studio. And I went in there and he said, I don't like that song. The next song. I did it again, did another song. He's like, I don't like that song. Next song. He did about 3 different ones. And then he was like, I don't like how you DJ on fast rhythms. You do a slow thing. This rhythm is not for you later. And my eyes filled up with water because this is like someone I really looked up to. And I said, oh, cool, and I left. And so that was probably the most disparaging moment. Like, I was crushed at my heart. Like I still felt like I wasn't going to give up, but I felt a lot of pain. Yeah.
God. Yeah. Well, I mean, surely by the stage of like you know, Give Me the Light and you know, that whole album, Dutty Rock album, did you think when you were in the studio making those songs, because yeah, in my mind, when you hear those, they're like instant kind of classics. Did you think, okay, we're definitely onto something, yeah, I'm going to be huge, but after this album comes out?
I never really thought, yeah, I'm going to be huge. I always just, you know, the first song that I did was called Baby Girl. And as I said, everybody was like, whoa, 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 but they didn't know it was me. I was so pleased with that feeling of like, wow, I did a song that people like. It was such an enthusiastic thing. Such an energizing feeling. So I more paid attention to that. And I was worried. I was like, boy, I don't know how I'm going to keep this up. You know what I mean? I want to make another song that people go, wow, 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 to. So that was my worry at the time. So I just kept going back to the studio every day. I kind of stopped going to check ladies. I kind of stopped really going to parties for a good amount of time till I had a certain amount of songs in my catalog, you know. And so when I'm putting albums together, it's never a plan like, oh, I'm gonna put a song about this out and then a song about that. It's just what I feel at the time when I go to the studio. I hear the rhythm and what it's saying to me, and I do it, you know. And so I never had a plan of it. I never thought, oh, I'm gonna blow up off of this. I was just pleased with the feeling, like, yo, that I felt self-accomplished. And if it only played in a couple places and people, you know, I was so used to people going, oh, that's interesting. And then the conversation changed. That when this started happening, I was like, wow, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it must have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah, so that was the best. That was the thing that kept me there, and yeah, as I said, no plan, just kind of try to go back to the studio all the time.
And when that album blew up, how did you find yourself suddenly, you know, obviously a lot more in demand? Did you go touring in places like America? And you know, how did the Beyoncé collaboration come about, for example, as well?
To tell the truth, I was touring from the first album, which was from it was actually 2000, but I did some tours off of just singles that I had out. In 1998 was the first time I remember. No, 97 was the first time I started to go away to do small shows, like 500 people in a club in Miami and that type of stuff. And actually by 98, time in London in a theater called Stratford Rex, and that was the biggest show I'd ever been on at that point. Stratford Rex is an old theater, a very historic theater, but by this time it was being used by dancehall promoters a lot, and it was the biggest crowd I've ever seen because, you know, you have the ground level and then the other two levels up there, real old theater style stuff, and that felt like superstar status to me, even though I wasn't a star, like a legit star all over the world. But, you know, I was opening for bigger dancehall acts like Spragga Benz and Monster Shot Crew. I don't know if you know those names, but those guys were huge in dancehall world before me. Oh, and Red Rat too. And so, you know, I'd done a few tours up until that, and even that first album. But when that song with Beyonce came out on the second album and I blew up, we Get Busy on those songs and Give Me the Light. It was that's definitely different. That was definitely the start of the superstardom that I've felt ever since.
And in terms of you know, when you cut that record with Beyonce, how did that work?
She had in 1998 or 99, she had come to Jamaica when she had her first song with Destiny's Child.
Mm.
She came and she did a show with me. I think I opened for her, or maybe it might have been the other way around.
Vice versa, yeah.
They opened, and because I was a big DJ in Jamaica at the time, me and my crew closed the show. But yeah, I met them then. Never kept in touch, but I knew the group. And then I kind of heard through the media, she's doing her own Step Out album. And then my manager calls me and he's like, yo, here quick, Beyonce sent a song for you to do with her. Like, wow, that was crazy. Because by this time she was huge. And hearing that she was gonna step out on her own made me kind of, you know, just look at her in that light, like as a big artist. And when they came to say, you know, do a song with her, I was like, wow, this is dope. And what was even better was that it was a dancehall song, and I didn't hear that coming from her. The rhythm was so it was R&B sounding, but dancehall drums and that kind of stuff. And I was very proud of my genre at that moment because I was like, this girl is on her way to superstardom, and she's calling me. And then also the track is definitely dancehall reflected. So good vibes, man. And it was a big, sexy song, and I loved it. I've gained fans from, you know, doing a song with her, and that kind of put me on a path to be like, hey, let me do some other songs with other people, you know, as much as possible, because it gives me a different fan base at times, you know.
Yeah, and collaborations seem to have played like a huge part in your career, like that, as well as obviously your own stuff. In terms of following up that huge success that you had with your second album, the Trinity was also huge, which is, you know, usually when someone has a big hit, then the next album, they find it very difficult. Were you just on a complete roll, or was it difficult to come up with new material? Like We Be Burning in particular, like that was a great, that was such a great tune, such a great single. I think it was even better than the singles on the first record in terms of how catchy it was. So what was it like when you were kind of following up all the big success?
Those times I kind of felt like I'm just not doing anything wrong. For the album, for Dutty Rock, if you remember Give Me the Light, there's a sequence in the video when I'm walking on this pathway of lights. And then I come to a point where it looks like there's nothing there and it's all dark. And I put my hand out and I kind of reach, and I feel there's nothing there, but I took the step of faith and I still stepped. And when I stepped, the light came on, and it was kind of representative of how I felt. Like I just felt like I had faith in myself. So no matter what I do, I don't care if people don't like it. I'm just gonna do what I feel on the track. So by the time like songs like Temperature came around, We Be Burning, I was just so much in the groove. You know what I mean? It did get hard that year though. Reason being, I'd blown up with Dutty Rock, and the record company Atlantic kind of they supported me in Dutty Rock, and they got me in a lot of magazines, a lot of interviews. They also sold like how much 7 million copies of a record of an album, which led them to probably make near 40 mil off of it. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow. But the support that they gave me on the second, on the Trinity album was way less. Like I didn't have any posters, and things were turning digital, and I didn't really understand that. And I was like, yo, where's my posters? I need them in the street. You know what I mean? I usually come to the airport and I see people with my poster. Like, I don't see that no more. And you're not supporting me. And they said, well, you know, you made us millions, but that was last year. And now you're a big artist and you have to fend for yourself, so to speak. And I was like, wow. And that was hard to just consider, to think that, you know, I'd made so much money. I would think that they would be like, hey, this is my buddy, you know what I mean? And take me under the wings. But I didn't realize at the time how much music being changed by the digital side of things. And so it was a difficult time for me, even though I did Temperature and We Be Burning there. Temperature went #1, We Be Burning went like number 5. So I also felt like good about myself. Like they don't believe in me, but I'm doing everything right. Nothing I could do is wrong. Which then, so by the fourth album now, less support and even less sales, and I'm like, damn. And I had to kind of revamp what I was doing and understand this digital world and you know, take into consideration the MySpace bands that existed and all of this stuff. So yeah, the game's changed a bit since then.
Well, but that's one of the things. Sorry, I'm just plugging in my charger. That's one of the things, though, that has remained constant throughout the years since that, you know, Dutty Rock album blew up, is that you have maintained, you know, normally when people come on this podcast, it's like they definitely have a golden era of success. Everybody does, whether it's Michael Jackson or, you know, Elton John or whoever. They had a period where they were hot and they were in the charts, and then it's kind of like continuing. But looking at your discography, since then you've been in the charts, in the singles charts for 20 years.
I've had different singles year to year.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
how have you kept up that longevity? And do you think a big part of it is your genre and making dancehall music? That is still the cool music of today. You know, like rock is dead.
Yeah,
a lot of genres are dead. Dancehall's still huge.
Yeah, I think that it was such a standout way to make music in terms of what is that when people first heard it internationally. And I owe that to the great people who did it before me, Shabba Ranks, Super Cat, Bob Marley and Jimmy Cliff from before that, people like Shaggy, you know, and the producers, Steely and Clevia and Sly and Robbie and, you know, Bobby Digital. All these guys made these tracks and taught me, you know, these unique sounding tracks that were really party oriented. Even if you're gonna sing something serious on it, such a groove, you could play it in a party. Nobody in France maybe knew what we were saying, or even in England. And it was just something to be like, yeah, this is dope. The drum and the bass are very, you know, it hits you hard. And you know, another thing, couple things that was going for me is that I had a very cut through voice, you know, very clear voice. A lot of people out here used to call me the clarity king or the melody king. I had great melodies too. And one thing that really got worked for me was my determination. As I said, you know, I used to swim, so I kind of set my goals through that. You know, I remember coach saying, come on, you got to make this time so you could be in this competition that's coming up, go represent your country. And so I'll be like, okay, I have 2 months to make that time. I got to go to training every day. And it's the same way I looked at music. I was like, I have to try to keep up this thing. And so I would always be going back to training, back to the studio, back to rehearsal, back to, like, I didn't take breaks off of that. And that determination or what can I say?
Longevity.
Those things help me to, those things help me to have the longevity that I've had. Also, I do think that you know, coming from uptown and speaking this way, people just started really weird at first. Like, wow. I remember Puerto Rican kids in New York saying to me, man, I didn't think you looked like that. I thought you looked like Shabba Ranks. You know what I mean? And it was a different look. So, you know, sort of like when you know, somebody just does a genre, but he does it so well. Maybe it's like an Elvis Presley type thing, where he was doing rock music, which was predominantly like, you know, black people music at first. And he was just doing it to, people thought he was a dark-skinned person. And that he became a phenomenon then. And I do believe that the same type of thing that's happened with me. As I said, I saw that with Don Yu, this kid that I saw when I was 17. My school, he's a table tennis champion, I'm a swimming champion, but he's gonna go and speak these rhymes. And I'm like, damn, that's different, because coming from our area, you don't do that. No one, no one encourages their child to do that. So now, because of me and him, we've broken that mold, and there's others in Jamaica that do that. But I just still am, a standout one. And I owe it a lot to the fans too, man. People who just have been down from day one, you know what I mean? And they play music for their kids or their younger cousins, and it goes on. And then I'm able to do a song with Sia, who's an amazing artist. And now I have 4-year-old fans who love that song. You know what I mean? So
that was another.
It's all worked out great.
And there have been a lot of collaborations that are incredible, and I just want to go through a few of them and ask you about them. I mean, the first one's a very obvious one. Breathe with Blue Cantrell, which is still like, that almost feels like a signature Sean Paul song as well. I mean, it is a signature song. Yeah. Do you still love that recording? And did you know that it was special when you kind of cut it?
I do. It's really huge in certain places. Like, I think like in Canada, but especially UK, it was huge. I don't know what it was. It's a Dr. Dre track. Eminem and Dr. Dre did a song on it before Blue Cantrell and I did. It was a cut on their album. It's a song called "What's the Difference Between Me and You."
Oh yeah, of course.
Right. So when I heard that track, I was like, wow, how come I get a Dr. Dre track to spit on? I've always loved his production, loved NWA, really respect Eminem. And I was like, this is dope. So, but it's her record company, for some reason, they did that. And I'd never heard that really in hip hop before, or in R&B, that someone would use back someone else's track. That was an album cut. And so soon, it was kind of really close to that time. And I was like, I'm definitely going to do it. Blue Cantrell had a huge major hit before with a song called "Hit 'Em Up Style," and this was her basically second installment. So I kind of owe it to her, because that "Hit 'Em Up Style" song was really, what can I say, hot in the streets. And then she was coming with a second single, and to put me on it, because I was kind of really bubbling in the streets as well, which was a good move. I'm thankful every day for moves like that. It's just stuff that fell in my lap. I didn't really go about calling Blue Cantrell saying, yo, I need to do a song with you. It just kind of fell in my lap.
Yeah, because of the success that you found. Another great collaboration was with Jay Sean and Lil Jon. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That's a great record. How did that come about? Was that for Jay Sean's album?
It was for Jay Sean's album. And I just remember my brother's name is Jason and my name is Sean. So when I first saw a video from him, it was "Are You Down, 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 Down" featuring Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is a huge artist to me. And I was like, who's this guy with my name and my brother's name singing this song? And by the way, he had one of my dancers that toured with me for over 6 years in his video. So I was jealous. I was like, yo, who's this dude? Like, who? He's taking my name and my brother's name, and he's taking my dancer. And so I was like, what is this, bro? And the song was playing everywhere. So funnily enough, I met him on a red carpet. So we're on a red carpet, me and my manager, and we see this beautiful woman. And we're like, who are you? And we start talking to her, and we're waiting on our turn to be interviewed by the next person. And we were throwing all these lyrics at her. And then this dude comes out of the bathroom, of the restroom, and joins her back. And I'm like, hey, that's that Jay Sean dude. And I was like, yo, bro, first you take my name, then you take my brother's name, then you take my dancer, and now you take my red carpet girl. And he laughed. And we just had a friendship ever since. It was a joke I was saying to him. But the girl on the carpet ended up being his wife in the long run.
Wow.
So big up to Tara and to him. And I was like, yo, let's do a song, bro, right there on the red carpet. And he's like, sure. You're a legend, bro. And I was like, all right, wicked, let's do it. This was about 2010, I believe. And so I'd had my run in terms of everybody knew the name. And so he couldn't believe I was so cool to kind of be just like, yo, bro, you stole my name. It's funny though. So we've had a friendship ever since. We've done another song Yeah, and I find him a great artist. I think that he has great melodies, and for me, when singers have great melodies, it's always a goal for me. So big up to him and his wife from the red carpet that I was trying to take away. It was funny, but you know what, too? I never remember that she was in my video from a song called "We Ever Blazing." Ever blazing, girl,
All right.
blazing up the flame. She's the girl with the phone. She takes the phone from me, and she was like, "You don't remember me from the video?" I was like, "No." So I was like, "Damn, you stole 2 girls from me, bro." And we forever had a great friendship since. He teases me a lot. I tease him a lot. We've done things like go to an interview and he talks like me and I try to talk like him. So it's like, yo, wagwan, man. And I'm like, yeah, you know, mate, everything's good. And I'm from London. People just laugh at my accent and laugh at his. It's a good dude. I think he's moved to the States now, but good dude, man.
Yeah, that song has such a great melody, and that's something that's, as you've said, it's a common thread throughout a lot of your work. You mentioned Cheap Thrills, like that was, you know, diamond, platinum record, which maybe even made you even more of a big star, like a superstar, a second time around. Did you feel that way about that record?
You know, when it's funny, big up to Sia, because I never knew that that's the only #1 record that she got. I never knew that.
Wow.
Because I had heard her songs and they're all over the radio. And I'm like, this woman is a phenomenal voice, and what she's writing is so different. It's cool. And so, you know, I didn't know her at one point. I would hear the songs like Titanium, but I thought it was Rihanna for the first few months. And my mom she was the person that schooled me on her. And it's a long time since she schooled me on an artist. Like, you know, she showed me the Beatles and all of that. But she was like, oh, this song Chandelier is amazing. You know Sia? And I was like, you mean Psy? Like Gangnam Style Psy? And she's like, no, Sia. And I was like, no, his name is Psy. He's from Korea. And she's like, no, this is a lady. And she sings amazing. Look, and she played the song. And I was like, oh yeah, I know the song. I thought it was Rihanna. She said, nah, this is Sia. And so she's the first person who told me about that. And I was like, wow, this is a special lady for my mom to be at this stage, being a fan of her, and even my niece, who's like 7 now, but she knew the songs too, and they schooled me, and I was like, Sia, wow. So, you know, minding my own business, being in the studio again, trying to write songs, and my manager calls me and said, hey, listen, would you consider doing a song with Sia? And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, excuse me. I was like, yeah, definitely, because by that time, I'd known who she was. My mom schooled me, my niece schooled me. And I was like, for sure. And they sent the song. And again, I was very happy that it was dancehall oriented, you know, and big up to her. I think she should have more #1s.
Yeah, that's really interesting that it's only #1. I mean, it is a brilliant record. I mean, and another big #1 that followed, you know, I think it was only a couple of years after, was with Clean Bandit. So how was that collaboration? And I mean, does it feel pretty good? You know, it's been 20 years, and you're still like having #1 hits and collaborations, which is an amazing feat. It really must be so rare in the music business.
It does feel amazing. You know, I hooked up with Clean Bandits because I had heard a song called "There's No Place I'd Rather Be." And I was like, that song is dope. And at the time, I was kind of mixing my dancehall music with the production of foreigners, because I thought I'd just gone through the whole you know, gauntlet of what a rhythm could sound like coming from Jamaica. And I did so much music, and I kind of was like, I need to learn some new things. And also, I think dancehall was not playing as much on the mainstream, and dance music and poppy music kind of took over. And I was blending my sound similar to what Shaggy did back in the day, where he put Marvin Gaye with Mr. Lover Lover and kind of, you know, got on the airwaves. And also Shabba Ranks did songs with Johnny Gill and Maxi Priest, which were very R&B oriented. So that was big music at the time, and they were trying to get in people's earshot. So I remember that, and I was like, I need to work with these people. Who are they? My manager found out, oh, it's Clean Bandits, and she has a link to them. And then I went to England I went to London to do 2 songs for my album. And when I met them, I met Jack, and he was like, you remember us, right? And I was like, from where, bro? And I was kind of humble because I was like, I don't remember Clean Bandits. I heard this song and I wanted to work with him. And he said, we were the band that came to your show in, I believe it's, I don't remember where it was. Might have been Hackney or something. And there was a band that came backstage, and they were like, they just want to meet me because it was a great performance. And I was like, yeah, let them in. I let people in the backstage all the time, smoking, drinking, we talking, and having a little mini party back there. And they were like, we're a band and we would love to do a song with you. The 3 of them were there, Jack, his brother, and Grace. And I didn't remember that. And they were like, we're gonna hold you to it. You said you do a song with us. I was like, yeah, I was drunk backstage and I didn't remember it. And so when I heard about Clean Bandits, it was through the music of No Place I'd Rather Be. And I was like, I want those people to produce something for me. And when I got there, he told me the story, and I was dumbfounded. I do remember the show. I do remember meeting the band, but I never realized it was them. And we did 2 songs for work for me. And when I was about to leave, I literally had my backpack ready, and he was like, listen, I was wondering, could you hit up like 8 bars for us? It's a song that we want to put out and we think you would be dope on it. And I was like, let me hear it. And I heard it. The melodies were sweet. I thought it was a bit strange coming from me. I usually sing about shake that thing and all this stuff. And but I really loved the melodies, you know, and what it was saying kind of reminded me of my mom. You know, my father was in prison from I was 13 to 19, and she was a single mom all that time. And subsequently after that, they basically broke up. So she's been a single mom, and the words were pretty easy. I just thought about mom, you know, and I hit it. I did 16 tracks. I did 16 bars. I was like blah, 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 all over it. And then they kind of tailored it and cut it up to be 8 bars or 12, I think. Yeah. And it's a history song. When I first played it for my brother, he's my realist critic. Like, he's not a yes man. He'll tell me, I don't like this for whatever reason. He's like, yo, this rhythm is amazing and these melodies are amazing, but why would you sing this? It's so sad. And I was like, yo, bro, some people want to sing about that, and it's their opinion, it's their own prerogative. They could sing that, you know? And within 2 days, he came back to me and said, no, this is a huge hit, bro. I don't care. Forget what I said before. This is amazing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's the story of me and Clean Bandits, and we worked together since. They were here in October. Wow. And I'm actually about to hit up another single for them right now. Yeah, this week I'm gonna make some time to do it. So there's a great relationship we have.
Wow. Yeah. So so what I wanted to ask you about finally was, you know, obviously it's been a difficult time with the coronavirus and all the rest of it. What are your plans for the future? You've just released, you know, digitally on streaming, Live and Living, right?
Yeah.
And do you have, from what I gathered, there's also you've got a plan for a kind of big further record called Scorcher, but that's just me doing research online. So better to hear it from you.
I can see you did your homework. Live and Living is a hardcore dancehall album, basics of like Stage 1, my first album, where it features more dancehall artists or even really all dancehall production. So production for myself, from a lot of people out here also that are, you know, the hot stuff out here. I just think that, you know, music goes in ebb and flow, and I've been doing a lot of poppy sounding or dance-oriented sounding albums, you know, poppy as in songs with Dua Lipa or David Guetta and Becky G and Ellie Goulding. This was my last EP, and I did that 4 years ago. And so I just feel that it's time for more hardcore stuff. So last year hit, and I had the album ready for Island Records to put out, which was the album Scorcher. It's not out yet. And because of the pandemic, I stayed home for 5 months. I didn't do nothing. I didn't go to the studio. I wasn't able to mix the album off in a complete form that I wanted to. So we put out a single last year with Tovlo, and then it's taken all this time. And during the time of me coming out of my shell, going back to the studio, I started to just feel the feeling that I need this hardcore album. And so I did put together for the last 5 months, Live and Living. I spoke to Island Records. They have I have an amazing contract with them. In other words, they recognize that in the dancehall community, I got to keep my singles up. I have to put out regular singles. But I told them I have a lot of singles lined up, but I'd rather put out an album. So they gave me the permission. They said, we won't come at you, do your album and finish ours. I was like, yeah, I got it finished. So that's the reason for the 2 albums this year. And I really feel people need music, man. It's a hard time. Homeschooling is the hardest for me.
Yeah.
With my son being 4 years old and just wanting to skip all over the place, it doesn't feel like school to him. So that's been really hard. And I just think that for every hard experience I've had in my life, every heartbreak, every disappointment, I've always leaned up on music, and I have so much music now. I want people to be able to lean up on it, play it, feel good. So Live and Living is a very feel-good album, a lot of party tracks that people might know me for, but also very meaningful tracks. I have a song called Guns and Navarro, and I'm talking about the violence that's happening in the streets here. And so half of the album is party and half is kind of very thoughtful. And then I'm putting out Scorcher in May, and that's the Island Records album. Tovlo is on the album. Sia is on the album. Big up to her again. She came through for me on this one, and she has a song with me called Dynamite. It's pretty big. Gwen Stefani and Shensia from Jamaica are in one Lovers Rock reggae song with me on that album. Ty Dolla $ign, Junior Gong, Nicky Jam, and a young lady called Jada Kingdom from Jamaica. Dope album, and as I said, the only reason is because I think people need music, and I did so much work in this past months that I haven't been touring, and I'm like, why not? Let's put them out. So I hope people enjoy them both,
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying Live and Living already.
Thank you, man. Of course, the one with Sia, the album with Sia, Scorcher, it's a lot more poppy oriented, but I do have still authentic dancehall productions and songs on there. Good stuff.
This episode is brought to you by Tingly. Tingly is on a mission to change the culture of gifting by encouraging everyone to give experiences rather than material things. Tingly's passionate team has handpicked the world's best experiences, including travel, adventure, romance, food, wine, and more, and brought them all together in one place. Tingly gives the recipient of the experience freedom of choice. Here's how it works. You purchase a gift box, Tingly sends an e-voucher or delivers a plastic-free gift box, and the recipient chooses from hundreds of experiences in over 100 different countries. There's no expiry date on any of Tingly's gift experiences. Tingly encourages us to give stories, not stuff, to treasure memories above possessions. To find out more, go to tingly.com. If you're enjoying the Greatest Music of All Time podcast, you can keep up to date with all of our latest episodes for free by subscribing. If you're watching on YouTube, the subscribe button is located at the top of the Tom Cridland YouTube page. It's also at the bottom right of any video that you watch on YouTube. If you're listening on an audio platform, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe at the top of the page.